Good afternoon, everyone. May I request all of you to be seated, please? We are about to begin the session for water security. So, in a very important topic that we keep talking about with a lot of focus from the central government coming in as well over the last few years, especially with what we saw a couple of days ago, the mission for Catch the Rain Where It Falls. It tells you that the kind of attention that water needs and continues to get in our country. So today, before I start off, I would love to introduce our speakers. Uh, Mr. G. Ashok Kumar is the Mission Director for National Water Mission. Dr. Rajiv Ranjan Mishra, Director General, National Mission for Clean Ganga. Mr. Nilachal Mishra, who is the Partner and Head of Government Advisory, KPMG in India. And my name is Ashish. I'm the Founder President for Green Dream Foundation, and I'll be the moderator for the session today. And before I begin, there's one thing that I would love to say, that water security is not about just securing water. It's about securing your nation as well as your future. The trends are alarming, and we cannot neglect the fact that we're already living under a water scarce conditions, and India needs to be water secure as soon as possible. But while those buzzwords sound really good, the journey to get there is not going to be an easy one. Definitely achievable, but what do we, I personally believe what we need to get there is an integrated effort. An integrated effort of, because we see that, a lot of communities, a lot of NGOs, a lot of government missions, a lot of private limiteds, a lot of companies are working on it in groups. And for us to see the results that we are wanting, all of them need to come together and approach this in an integrated way. All of those missions, all of those schemes, all of those initiatives of community level have to converge at one level, so we can see the impact firstly at city levels and then eventually at the national level. Otherwise, we might see a lot of good initiatives in the pockets, but we will not be able to really achieve the dream of a water secure country. At Green Dream Foundation as well, we have been working on a lot of IEC, which is information, education, communication, as well as action-oriented initiatives. And we believe both are equally important, because once you have sensitized people, once you have made people aware, that's where the stage comes that you can push them towards taking an action. No action is big or small. You must have heard that right before as well. It could be as simple as harvesting your rainwater, or even saving your RO wastewater to make sure it's used for other non-potable purposes. But to achieve that at a country level or a city level, we require all of those initiatives to be held at the ground, with objectively measured and then incrementally enhanced through scaling up of the government initiatives. So like I said, I think there is a lot of focus, and we have the right set of diverse audience here who can guide us today exactly what are the plans forward. And another thing that I believe is very, very important in achieving this dream of water secure India is about fostering partnerships. Those partnerships at different level are going to lead us to achieve the results that we are looking forward to, that we have been wanting to. But earlier we might have taken those topics not too very seriously, but now is the time, because the way the water tables are depleting and the way the per capita consumption is also rising, we really need to get our act together now. So some of the key things that I'll request the speakers to focus on today will be that how does the community address challenges of water security in an era of unprecedented environmental change? We are hearing about climate change, environmental changes that are happening quickly, and that's not a myth, that's a reality, and we need to adapt. We need to become resilient to all those changes happening around us. Transition management and governance for water security in this decade, the role of standards in securing urban waters, what are the lessons learned from COVID-19? That will be very, very interesting. I was discussing this with Nilanchal's team as well yesterday. So looking forward to have some thoughts on that. And cities' response in water security. So without taking much time, I would request the first honorable speaker for today, which is Mr. G. Ashok Kumar, who's the Mission Director for National Water Mission, to kindly join us and share his thoughts. So you can either share it from there or here, whatever you're comfortable with. You can do it from there, sir. So let's hear it out from him before we begin. Let's get some energy back into the room after lunch. Okay, the guys in the back. Let's hear it out. Come on. Okay.
Good afternoon, everybody. A very good World Water Day, which was just passed one day back to March 22nd is the World Water Day. And it was very important for us. It's something prestigious and historic for us, India. That's the time when our Honourable Prime Minister launched a very, very big campaign called Jal Shakti Abhiyan, Catch the Rain, which the tagline, catch the rain where it falls, when it falls. I'll tell you about the enormity of that event. In number, sheer number, we had almost 2.5 million Gram Sabhas being conducted simultaneously. They were watching live the Prime Minister speaking and giving his address, followed by Jal Shapath by all the people who are participating in those Gram Sabhas, and also discussing almost for 1.5 hours on conservation of water and those water related issues. So this is a very, very major event which happened, and that also showcases the importance, the priority the government attaches to water. Probably 10 years back, this was not the scale of importance attached to water. Water को ना हिंदी में बोलते हैं ना, something if you are wasting something, इसे पानी की तरह बहा देते हैं. So that is the level of importance water had then. That is, anything is altu faltu is treated as water. Conversely, anything which is water is also treated as altu faltu. But now, the government has realized the importance of water, and if you are dreaming of a $5 trillion economy, probably the most critical factor or the most limiting factor happens to be water. This apart, water is necessary for all living beings, for drinking purposes, for animals, for plants, for agriculture, for industry, for domestic purposes. So the use of water, everybody knows, and not a single living being is out of the purview of the clutches of water. Now, when you say about water security, how much time?
10 minutes.
When you talk about water security, there are two aspects for it: water quality and water quantity. These are two very important issues, separate issues, because if you look at statistics, 70% of the world is water, but 99% of it is not potable. So quantity, you have very large quantity, but quality wise, if you look at it, it is not of much use. And in India, if you look at the statistics, I'm just going by statistics for the first 2 minutes. We have sufficient rains giving water. There is a temporal and spatial flood, of course. About 1100 mm rainfall comes here, which is much, much more than compared to some 600 or 400 mm which the countries like Israel gets, but then they are very comfortable with the water there. We are not, even though we get 1100 mm rainfall on average. There are parts of the country which get 100 mm rainfall, 115 mm rainfall on the western side, Rajasthan side, and we have places we get 33,000 mm rainfall on the eastern side. Okay. We also have a temporal variation. 3-4 months you get rainfall. That's when the rain in the summer season, in the monsoon season. And once the rain pours down in that 4-5 months, our stock gets out. We have to wait for next monsoon to give us water. But this water which falls in that monsoon period, we have to conserve and use it for the next 8 months. So there is a connectivity gap which is happening in the last couple of years, and due to climate change effects, the intensity of rainfall has increased. What used to come in 4 months is now coming down in maybe 20 days. So the intensity has gone up, and because of urbanization, because of concretization, because of compaction of ground, the water which used to come slowly from the sky in 4 months, which is coming now very fast, falls on a very hard surface, does not have any place to go down because of concrete and tiles, because almost all the cities, how the gated communities have made, or the houses have made courtyards tile. So the water cannot go down, it goes out to the streets, to the stormwater drains, which were designed to carry the water which was falling on the roads. So now the water on the roads, plus the water from these compounds, all come to the floor, to the road, and damages the road. And water is a very powerful thing, it can't be stopped. It goes to the lowest lying area, creating floods. So probably, if you notice, in the last 5 years, you are hearing of urban flood, a phenomenon which we never heard a couple of years back. Now we have floods in Delhi, we have floods in Hyderabad. We had a very traumatic picture of a bus in Minto Bridge, under the Minto Bridge, half full of water, and a person unfortunately lost his way because of urban flooding. So this is one of the major issues. So water security, as I said, quality and quantity is important. I'm just talking about the quantity. So sufficient quantity is available if we can store the water properly. So water management is very important. This is where, as the moderator was telling, water management and participatory management comes of importance. This is not only a government function, it is not only a certain set of people's function, it is to be a joint management of water. We have to see that the water we get is properly utilized, and not only that, there are different ways of engaging with water, and we actually do not value water. So this year's theme for the World Water Day was valuing water, which is very, very important, because somehow we lost that gaurav for water, that value for water, the respect for water, and we think that water will be there throughout. As I said, with the urbanization, with the increasing demand for industries, industrial water, with the increasing demand for water for agriculture, water is getting scarcer and scarcer. We are not reached a point of water scarcity, but we are on the track. But if you look at the usage of water in India, 85 to 90% of water is used in agriculture sector. And what is our water use efficiency? Our water use efficiency is just 30 to 35%. So there is a tremendous scope for increasing the water use efficiency. And if you can just do it, increase it by 20%, we get sufficient quantity of water which can even cover up for the requirement of double the population which we have. Because if you look at the statistics, 89% of water is for agriculture, 10% is used for irrigation, for drinking water and domestic purposes. Even if you save 10% of water in agriculture, which you get about 9 to 10% of water, that is almost the same quantity of water which we are using in the domestic and drinking sector presently. So there is a tremendous scope for improvement of agriculture, water use in agriculture sector, and that's where again people's water management is important. Now, if you look at the water side, you have this supply side, demand side. Supply side, as I said, water is available in India. We have started the campaign called Catch the Rain. I'll just give you a statistics, how much rainwater is available in India. One of the statistics says that I'm talking about Delhi, with 1,483 square kilometer of area, with 612 mm rainfall and about 1.67 crore population. If you divide the area in square kilometers with the rainfall and divide it by population, we get almost 148 liters per day per person. That much of water is coming as rain. If we're not saving it, it runs away and gets lost. So the campaign which the Honorable Prime Minister started, the Catch the Rain campaign, where it falls, when it falls, is the perfect example for the supply side management. We don't want to build big dams which create environmental hazards, but if we can do this crowd saving, it's the opposite of crowdsourcing. You don't get large quantity of water accumulated in one place. If you can ask people to save where it falls, we can save a large quantity of water, and which can be used for the drinking water issues in summer. Now coming to the urban water security. Second side, I said demand management. We have to ensure that appropriate interventions have to be taken in the agriculture sector, and also make steps in the urban sector, which is now slowly expanding its demand. And there is a tremendous scope for increasing the reuse of water in urban sector also. The sewage water which is generated in urban sector, 80% of it can be recycled and then we can reuse it again. So we have to take steps to ban the use of potable water for non-potable purposes. If you do that, we are actually substituting that water for the what is used presently for this and wasting the potable water, and we can divert that much of potable water to take care of the needs of the people who are needy for drinking water purposes. So the 5 R's which people, 3 R's which most of the people talk about, we reduce, of course we have to reduce the water requirement, we have to reuse, we have to recycle, and the last 2 R's which we are in the National Water Mission, we have been trying to propagate is to recover, rejuvenate the water bodies, and the last R is the respect for water. So if we can do all these 5 R's together properly, we can ensure water security, we can leave a secure future for our children, because we had got, luckily our forefathers were not bad enough to pollute all the water, but we are polluting the water. And unfortunately, here last aspect of the quality side of water, a very small amount of polluted water can pollute a large quantity of pure water, good water. So water pollution, which is now happening, where all the water bodies in the cities are being used as dump for sewage, as dump for urban garbage, actually is creating a lot of mess in the cities, and many cities are actually on the verge of running out of water. So we have to look at this aspect very carefully, make water Andolan, Jal Andolan, Jan Andolan, a participatory management, people will be made aware of it, the water literacy has to improve, and then probably we will be able to live up to our dream of a $5 trillion economy, because water is now becoming a stopping point for many industries. You want to start industry, the first requirement is water for many places, and local people are now objecting when water is being extracted in a large quantity from an area, and also they are concerned about the pollution, effective pollution of these industries. So with these few points I say, I conclude my speech. There is tremendous scope for improvement. We don't have to create water. With the available water, if you can properly manage it, there is much more than what we require, and also we can leave a large, very good environment for our future, for our children. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. And with some of the points you mentioned, I think water pollution is a big threat to water security, is what I believe as well. And we see that, while there have been a lot of policies, reinforcements, and time and again, check on the industrial pollution into the rivers, and why, I'm asking this on behalf of a lot of people who wanted me to ask this, why do we keep seeing that white foam on Yamuna, which has become very common now? So has that increased, decreased, and what are the things in the pipeline that people should be excited about, that industries should stop doing what they're doing to our water bodies?
I think I'd leave that to sir is there from Ganga, happens to Yamuna. So
I think I have taken note of it.
So you can cover it up in your presentation,
Yeah,
sir, then.
I will cover.
Okay, lovely. And then one more thing is, sir, you talked about climate change, which I also touched. So climate change means extreme weather, and extreme weather could lead to unusual rain pattern, which could be either a lot of rain or very less rain. So what will be the one key thing that cities can do to adapt to such a evolving situation?
see, as I said, climate change has increased the intensity of rainfall, has reduced the area of days of rainfall, but they have not reduced the quantity of rainfall. See, what happens is, if you look at it, if you mark 12 months in a circle and see how much, 3-4 months where the rain comes, and the remaining months we are waiting for tankers to come. So if you can somehow manage to store that water in a decentralized way. We can't build dams in cities. You can't make a big Tehri dam somewhere in Delhi.
Right.
So the best way is, as I said, is crowd saving. Every gated community, every residential welfare association, if they can take upon to themselves that whatever rain falls in there, at least 20 to 50% of water is stored there underground. You don't have to make big structures because water can go down to the aquifers, and our Mother Earth is a great container. So if you can get the water go down, and also see that the old urban lakes are rejuvenated and protected, and this water is used there, and that water is protected by not sending sewage there. Probably we get sufficient water for the cities. So we can probably look at for a Tanker Mukt Bharat. I always say that if we can sufficiently store this water coming in the last 3 months, in the 3 or 4 months of rainy season, we definitely can fight the mafia of tanker, and we can make a Tanker Mukt Bharat.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for elaborating on that. So, with that, I'll request our next esteemed panelist for today, Shri Rajiv Ranjan Mishra ji, who is the Director General for National Mission for Clean Ganga, and I'll request him to kindly share his thoughts with us.
Thank you, and all my colleague panelists and all the delegates, a very good afternoon to all of you. And I must thank Ashok, my colleague from Ministry and who is heading National Water Mission, for covering several aspects relating to water security. And he has very rightly said that management of water is the real challenge. Now, if we look at, we are here to discuss about the water security, and then some of the aspects which was Ashish flagged in the beginning, we have to perhaps relate to city and water, community and water, some of the governance issue or managerial issue, and also reflect upon in the light of our experience in wake of COVID. I would basically tell you that as very rightly told by Ashok, when we look at water security, primarily we have to see whether we have enough adequate quantity of water available. So quantity becomes important. And the water which is available, what is the nature of that water? Are they safe? Is that water of good quality? And if not, then what are we doing about it? So I think these are some of the pertinent questions we have to look. And what are the major challenges? Basically, why we are talking about water security, why it has come to become such a serious issue that we all, especially if you look at from last few years, there has been increased focus upon water management, water resource development, and then how we can really improve things. So urbanization is one major factor, one major challenge. Of course, growth of population, whether it is urban area or rural area, but urbanization growth has been very fast, industrialization. So these are some of the issues. Now, none of them are per se wrong. I mean, neither they are wrong nor they can be avoided. I mean, we have to urbanize, that's a kind of trend. Globally, it will happen, and actually urbanization pace will be much faster in Asia and Africa. Now, where we stand in terms of water. I mean, if you look at globally, we are having only 4% of freshwater resources, global freshwater resources, and we have to cater to 18% of global population. Second, we are a country which is using maximum groundwater in the world. I mean, we use more groundwater than China, USA put together. I mean, that's the kind of a status. So I think these things reflect upon how we are depleting the availability of water per capita. It was much more. It was more than 500 cubic meters sometime in immediately after independence, which has come down to less than 1500. So a large part of the country, we are actually, what we are having is kind of water stressed. Now, how we can avoid getting into a kind of water scarce kind of situation for a larger part of the country is the challenge, is something which we have to debate. And in my opinion, we have to look at the whole, all these things in a very holistic manner. Sustainable Development Goal 6 perhaps is a kind of global guideline, what all we have to look at. Basically, we have to look at a kind of universal access to safe drinking water. Jal Jeevan Mission is going to fill up that particular thing. Is already progressing very well. Good sanitation, maybe Swachh Bharat mission has led us to a particular stage where solid waste management has improved, but we have to do a lot upon liquid waste management. The municipal sewage, the untreated sewage, the wastewater which urban system is generating is a huge challenge, and perhaps we have to look at it, and then I will share some of our experiences about and then the trend where we are moving in that direction. Then how we use water. On World Water Day, when Honorable Prime Minister launched the Jal Shakti Abhiyan, apart from interacting with the sarpanches and also telling everyone about conserving water, one very important thing which was giving a message, how we use water. What he says कि हम इसको विवेक के साथ यूज करें, जल का प्रयोग, जल का उपयोग में हम अपने विवेक का प्रयोग करें. We must be wise, we must be water wise, and that's the kind of lesson we have to learn. How we use, and Mr. Ashok very rightly told about very poor water use efficiency in agriculture. Now, do we really need that kind of water for our crop productivity? No. In fact, I am again reminded of an example given by Honorable PM in one of the speeches. I mean, why I am quoting, because that's very simple to understand. He was saying that if a small child is there in your house, a newborn baby is there, and you have to give water, you have to give milk. You don't put that baby in a bucket of milk. Neither you pour a bucket of milk on him or her. You will use very small quantity of water, very small quantity of milk to feed that small child. So I think that is the situation. When we are growing our crop, perhaps crop does not need flood irrigation. It does not need so much of water to be given. What we have to do is use very small quantity of water, use it scientifically, and there is a huge case for practicing micro irrigation or propagating micro irrigation. Again, I can tell you, it's very easy for me to tell it. It's very difficult to enforce or propagate in the field. I have the experience. I was irrigation secretary in one of the state, and then that is a state in South India where water is not so much. I mean, in Ganga belt we see there is a lot of water, and we are very free in using water. But even in those parts of the country, it took years together to convince people to go for micro irrigation, and now actually it has been accepted. So I think there is a whole lot of cropping pattern, there is a whole lot of policy. It's not only, I mean, the water security solution does not lie only in the water sector. Of course, we have to take the lead. The solution lies at a much bigger policy level. There is we are all aware about the nexus between water, food and energy. So some of these policies, so I think when we look at improving groundwater, when we look at all these things, perhaps we have to keep all these things in mind. And these are basically what I am talking now about use efficiency, etc. Primarily we are looking at the demand side. Now I talked about agriculture, but don't think that the other sectors can relax. We have lot of scope, we have lot of potential to improve our water use efficiency, whether it's industry or domestic use. Now, very simple thing in the domestic use also. I'm very happy in last 2 years or so. Lot of examples are coming that okay, let's not give so much of water when someone is coming to your house full glass, because what happens, we drink little bit and leave that water is thrown out. So I think they like to have the cutting tea concept in some part of the country. Similarly, you should also have a kind of cutting water kind of thing. So I think that's again something where not only the system, not only the cities, not only the industry, but every individual or community can also play a role. So I think there is a whole lot of things which can do about demand side management. And this is where perhaps we also have to use, I will come back to the river and the wastewater management in a way, but several industries, what is the need to draw fresh water? Why can't we meet some of these needs out of the treated wastewater? So I think treated wastewater can be a kind of supply side measure also. You are bringing additional supply, and then from demand side you have to understand that we can actually accept it. So what are the various possible usage of the treated wastewater? And then it's very important, you know, the kind of wastewater we are generating in our urban system is huge, and we don't have so much of capacity to treat them also. So on one hand we have to keep on improving the treatment capacity. Whatever capacity is there, you have to utilize well, and then you have to see that the treated wastewater is utilized or in some other usage. We are at present, we are trying to work with the states, that states come up with a policy. Some states are already having policy. We already have an example of Chennai, Surat. Surat is making lot of money, lot of revenue out of selling of the treated wastewater. In Namami Gange, we have got an project in Mathura going on where 20 MLD of treated wastewater is being sold to Indian Oil Corporation. So I think the various models are there, and we are trying to develop a kind of national framework to actually make it even more institutional. So I think that's one area. Coming back to some of the other things, I will tell you about the supply side. As Ashok very rightly told, the day of going for very large reservoir is perhaps over. We may still have some of them, but perhaps that is not the solution. And we have to look for improving the local sources of water. I mean, how we can store water, what are the local sources, and actually there is a great need to improve things because we have really neglected. He talked about climate change. There was a question about climate change. You know, climate change, the wetlands, the water body and wetlands, they can play a great role in mitigating the effect of climate change. They can be a great carbon sink. But what is happening? The depletion of wetlands globally is 3 times faster than the forests. I mean, we are all concerned about forest, but wetland also has to come in the overall river management or river or water management strategy. So that's why I think when we look at some of the supply side measures, you have to look at improving wetlands, improving catchment area plantation, and I will tell you about the river. The river is not just a single river. I mean, river is a whole system. In case of Ganga, we came up with, I mean, that is also a matter of governance. We came back with a very, very robust order, notification authority order, where certain principles are laid down. Some of these things are displayed in our stall here also. And one thing very clearly says the foremost thing is river Ganga will be managed as a single system. Meaning is the main stem of Ganga, the tributaries of Ganga, the small rivers which are part of the whole system, the wetlands, the springs, the floodplains. All of them are part of one system, and we have to manage all of them together. And actually, unless we do that, it will not be possible to really rejuvenate the river. So rejuvenation is cleaning plus improving ecology, improving flow, and several other things which will be required. And here perhaps we tried to bring in improved governance and bring certain new business practices. We realize that many of the STPs which have been created earlier, they do not function to the capacity or they are defunct. So we tried to bring in long-term operation and maintenance as part of the project to improve sustainability. We tried to improve governance and sustainability by introducing hybrid annuity mode of funding these projects, where we are shifting our paradigm for payment from construction to payment for actual performance. Because persons, the investors' own money is there, he has to do a good job, otherwise he will not get 60% in 15-year annuity. So I think, and then we went for the city-wide contract. But what we have done for the wastewater sector, actually now we have to expand it to the entire city concept for different things, and that's where the urban planning becomes very important. And what we are telling is a kind of entire water plan for the city is necessary. And that is where we are trying to develop a template of urban river management plan, and for Kanpur we are trying to do it. So basically, how much water you are drawing, how much rainfall is there, what you do with the rainwater harvesting, how much water you draw for drinking purpose, how we utilize it, what is the area, what kind of agricultural practices are there, and then look at a kind of not just the city boundary but the peri-urban area and nearby area, and look at a cluster of cities. Because what water you are receiving from a river is, you will use it and you will again discharge some of the treated or untreated wastewater. It will become a source of drinking water for the next river downstream and the next city downstream. So I think this whole thing has to be understood in a kind of holistic system, and then that has to be done. So I think that is something which we are trying. Certain ground rules are being laid. In Ganga Basin, several projects are going on where we are trying to experiment it and fine tune it, and also create a kind of alliance of cities where these kind of ideas can be exchanged and which can be done. I will now change a little bit and say that, okay, I mean community, what can community do and how this governance helps them, how can management bring that community together. One more thing about governance I can say about policy about reuse. But we have also prepared a ground for environmental flow. Again, that's very important. There was a question about Yamuna. Ganga is still, I mean, is one of the best river, I will tell you, because entire length of Ganga by all these measures, we are able to maintain dissolved oxygen level more than 5 milligram per liter. BOD is less than 3 milligram per liter for the major part of the river, except for 200 to 300 kilometer in patches where still we have, and that BOD is between 3 to 5 or 3 to 6, not very high. But situation in Yamuna is quite different. And Yamuna also, don't say that entire Yamuna is so polluted. It's 22 kilometer Delhi, which actually causes, almost kills Yamuna for its entire length. And that is where again the issue of creating treatment capacity, utilizing them, and most importantly ensuring flow, improving flow, because the problem of Yamuna is the flow is really very less, number one. And second problem is there is a disconnect with people of Delhi and Yamuna. If you go and ask, I have done it, many people do not know how to reach Yamuna. They may be living in Delhi, they may be going to their office, they may be going to schools, but that connect is missing. And then that connect has to be brought back to really see that the rivers are taken care of. And that's where perhaps the campaign like Jal Shakti Abhiyan, in our own Namami Gange mission, we have developed several activities and several community cadres. We have thousands, more than 40-50,000 people are actively involved as volunteers. And then we organize lots of programs. Sometimes it is rafting, sometimes some sports activity. Now we have just started 2 days back a kind of online quiz program. It's a kind of global quiz program on Ganga and its ecosystem, Ganga Quest. So anyone can log in, try to learn. The whole thing is designed and such that students, youth, they all get connected. So I think we need to really connect people. Only when we have a partnership not only with the industry, not only with the private sector, but partnership, PPP has to extend to public, private and people partnership. You have to really extend to that. And then the problem of Yamuna or problem of Delhi about the fog, foam, etc. One thing is the capacity is very low, flow is so less. Several things we have also tried to determine the E-flow for the Yamuna, and then it's almost at a final stage. Some minimum flow has to be given. You have to recognize the right of the river over its own water, over its own land, which is floodplain. If you keep on encroaching, when the aquifer is going to be recharged, how the river will get water? And unless we do it, the perennial rivers will have a danger of converting into a seasonal river. And that will be a really very, very bad thing to happen. But things are improving. I think I am very optimistic. The people are also getting connected with it. A kind of partnership is developing. And there is so much of consciousness, so much of high priority given by the topmost leader in the country. I think I'm quite sure it will change. We saw during COVID, I will just mention very quickly before I close, during COVID we saw improvement in the ecological condition. Now see, some of those things may be very dramatic, as if you are able to see everything and all that. Lots of jokes also came about that. But certainly one thing was very clear, that if we allow nature to rejuvenate, nature has tremendous capacity, whether it is river or any other system, to rejuvenate itself, to make itself healthy. But what we have to do, we have to respect nature, we have to also have some of the solutions by nature and then allow it to happen. It can be nobody's case that we have to lock everyone in their house so that they don't throw garbage, they don't throw plastic in the river and then the river looks clean. So that cannot be a case. So I think that is where the change of our behavior, the behavioral change, becoming more responsible, and I am really finding it very hopeful, very, very good to see, especially the next generation is perhaps becoming more responsible than us. They are also more aware about environment, they are also more aware about the rivers. So I think we have to consciously keep on working, and we need partnership, we need to collaborate, we need to bring people of right intentions, right capability. In the process, we will need to improve capability tremendously. In the process, we may have certain success, we may also have some failures. But what is most important is to believe in it. And we have perhaps no other option but to believe in this solution and move ahead with this, because unless we manage this, it will be very difficult. And as he very rightly says, पानी को फ्री होके बहाने के समय खत्म हो गया है. We have to value water, means जल की कीमत समझने का वक्त आ गया है. And if we don't understand now, perhaps it will be very, very harsh reality for us. So I think once again I use this forum also to appeal to everyone that let's all join this campaign for conservation of water, for depollution of the river. I mean, the best solution of the river, I think, to be more specific to the question about Yamuna and the fog and foam, see, you have lot of common effluent treatment plant. Capacity is there in Delhi for treatment of the industries. But there is always some issue of the detergent or some of this ammonia or something coming from the downstream. So I think that the whole issue of disciplining or self-discipline of the industry is a major issue here. Regulatory decisions are being taken, but the major issue in Delhi is flow. And you will be happy that now Government of India and the state government also lot of measures for improving water bodies in Delhi is now taking place. In fact, in the floodplain also a storage of water, some attempt was made. So I think little bit of consensus is there. Wastewater treatment, pollution of Yamuna is becoming a major issue now. I mean, it's becoming the priority of decision makers. So I think very soon we will have some progress. Some of our projects, the STP projects, I think Coromandel, this coronation pillar, almost 150 MLD, one phase has started working from last 2-3 days. We are doing trial. I think by June we want to start that 300 MLD. In Okhla, the country's largest STP is under construction. I think it will take more than a year to get that thing complete. So I think we are trying to aggressively build up capacity. In the same time, some discipline, like in case of several steps for the industries to join, and I think this is a forum where industries also have to come forward. The stewardship for adopting some of the water bodies, some of the wetlands near their area is very, very important for them to pick up. So I think there are several aspects. We can keep on talking about different aspects and debate it. And the solution, in my opinion, lies in believing in it, doing it very seriously, developing good partnership with people, because this is such a big work. No one agency, no one department, neither government alone nor people alone will be able to do it. So I think that kind of approach is needed, and I am very hopeful the way we are seeing positive change in the quality of river Ganga and several other rivers. I am quite sure we will be in a position to improve lot of things on Yamuna also. It will take little longer, I can tell you very clearly and realistically. But we have projects lined up not only in Delhi but throughout length of Yamuna. Projects have been sanctioned. Several projects, Mathura will be complete this year, so that will bring lot of change in Mathura and Vrindavan area. But I think several other things are happening, and we are bringing it with a better governance, better management, bringing private investment into it so that it becomes more sustainable. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for that detailed talk. And all of those recent developments that you've spoken about, especially the way the STP's functioning is being tendered out, so that the maintenance also becomes an important factor. I think that's a groundbreaking change, a much needed change that you are bringing. So thank you so much for making us aware about that, and also completely agree to the PPP model, which I had mentioned. If all of us has to come together to really drive some changes. One quick question that comes to my mind. Is that, sir, when you're working on rejuvenation or conservation of a river, the city level discharge plays a very important role, because the river is going through hundreds of cities through its course. Do you or have you come across cities which do not even have mature sewage system inside the city, and because treatment of sewage is a different factor altogether. For cities that have not been planned for that kind of urbanization, do we come across instances where cities are not even planned in terms of laying down the sewage lines?
Unfortunately, yes. In fact, several cities, I mean, this is a very, very important question, because we have to understand, we have a large system of cities and towns, and the solution of laying down very elaborate sewer network and STP is perhaps not possible in all the cities. Of course, where it's densely populated and major places we have to do. You will be surprised, in the state capital, Patna, in Bihar, entire sewer network and entire STP construction is going on in Namami Gange for last 3-4 years. Otherwise, there was no sewer system except in a very small part of Patna. It was not existing. So I think let's not be surprised. In Delhi, there are several areas where there is no sewer system, right in the national capital, and those things are being done. But I will also like to tell you, perhaps to check pollution in the river, So some of the approach which we have done, we are also trying to intercept the major drains and divert it to an STP. So in the short run, in medium run, that will actually solve the problem of pollution, and that will also bring better quality. Another very important thing is we have to look at a kind of bouquet of solutions. STP and sewer network is not the only solution. You have to look at more small township-wise, decentralized, modular kind of STPs, where you don't have to lay down a very elaborate sewerage system. Second, and then the other thing which is now, there is a now very elaborate policy also about septage management. So I think we have toilets, we have septic tanks. So I think if we can have a good septage management also, that will also give us great relief. But idea is, again, you have to see that right from collection, transportation to the septage thing. And all our STPs, we are trying to do co-treatment of septage, so that actually till the whole thing develops, actually you can bring the septage into the STP and we can collect it and also do the treatment. So I think there is whole lot of solution, and we have to actually put all of them together to find the optimal thing.
Definitely. So thank you so much. I think, yeah, different situations call for different solutions, and decentralized definitely has a lot of potential to solve the current situation. So with that, sir, also I will request the audience to keep some questions handy, because we'll take them towards the end. With this, we'll move on to the next panelist for today. That's Mr. Nilachal Mishra, who's the head of government advisory at KPMG. So over to you, Nilachal.
Okay, so it's actually a challenging time for me to add anything after the stalwarts in this space. Rajiv Ranjan ji and Ashok Kumar ji have already spoken, but I will try and actually emphasize on some of the points. It's never been important for us actually. If I look at the pandemic, has taught us something, that when we look at Jal Jeevan Mission, what we were looking as an aspiration of having at each household a tap. Today, that is not an aspiration, that is a bare necessity for us. Because looking at the community right now, going to the community stand post or using a community pumps is right now a difficult task for us. Hence, we need to definitely create a tap at each of the household. How do we do it is a bare necessity for all of us itself. So with this, I would say water security becomes one of the most essential part of it. We have reiterated multiple times today in the panel discussion that we need to conserve water as we go ahead. Now, one of the topics of the discussion today was how does a community play an important role? Now, actually, community plays one of the most critical role in maintaining these assets, ownership, and accountability of implementation of some of the schemes. They play the most important critical role, I would say, in terms of doing it. Now, water security means what? Availability of water. Second, giving access of water. Third is, what is a safe use of water, the quality of water. Now, if I need to do all these three things, the community needs to know each and every aspect of when we are doing it. I think Ashok Kumar ji clearly touched upon the aspect of reuse, reduce, and recycle of it. Now, reduce, if I look at the community level, the reduce of the water aspect of it. Now, if we know that some of the technology options which we have today, if there is a use of smart faucets which are there, it actually reduces 50% of your water usage, I mean, when you're using it. Second, in many of the houses, we have RO, which we use. You know, RO actually wastes a lot of amount of water. You can use a carbon filter, UV light, you can use a simple technologies to actually save some of this water things itself. Third, I would like to say, we've seen the transition to happening to green taps itself. Can we look at some of these technologies going forward which will save water? This is important. Obviously, one of the most important points which we said is behavioral change. We need to make the behavioral change as the number one change, where water leakage, water wastage is not done. But some of these technologies, some of these things which are efficient usage of water needs to be thought through. Second important part of it was reduce. As I mentioned, you can use some of these technologies to reduce. Second important part is recycle. Now, when I go to the recycle part of it, we've already talked about it. We need to have a mechanism. Can we have a dual piping system in each and every house where the grey water and the black water goes out where the grey water can be used for any of the gardening purposes and everything. The black water can actually be used in the FSTPs for treatment and can be treated back. So some of these things we need to establish, and when a city is planning it out, this needs to be done during the planning stage of the city, because it's really important, otherwise it's very difficult. We've seen this in Delhi also. In Delhi, NDMC has actually did this STPs across decentralized small STPs where the water coming out of it have been used for agriculture purposes in many of the gardening. It's actually being used in many of the cities itself. So that's one of the things which we need to start thinking about it. Now, next was recycling. I think rainwater harvesting, we've talked about it a lot. Ashok Kumarji has been leading the Catch the Rain campaign. It's an initiative every household, every community needs to know and get it done and implement it. Apart from that, it's also important that each community needs to know what are the water bodies nearby and also ensure they play a role in preserving these water bodies. There is something called a Shramdan. You need to contribute to your community. You need to contribute to ensure that the water bodies are preserved. How do we do that is something very important. Some of the aspects of it, when we are looking at, this is what the community needs to do. But what is that as a policy or a governance mechanism should be doing it? It is something we need to really look into some of this aspect of it. Because I strongly feel that any of this water reuse to be done or to be implemented, you need to have incentivization mechanism and you need to have a penalizing mechanism also. Both needs to be implemented together. As KPMG, we are working on an interesting concept of water reuse trading platform. What we say here is that every industry, when they can have credit or debit points, when they are actually that water reuse, if they are using it, and they can take this credit points from everywhere. That's creating a trading platform. We are actually working with World Bank on this water reuse trading platform. This, when it happens, you create an incentivization among the people where you can start using the water reuse. Otherwise, what is the framework? How do you incentivize people? That also makes sure that water, if people are not reusing, you penalize them when they're not. This is the minimum usage to be done. That thing, I think we need to incentivize and implement some of these things. Next important thing here is also water as we've been always creating infrastructure as a water management. But water has to be driven in a utility approach, in a service delivery framework. What we always, water is like is a function which is like a sanitation, everything. We are giving it back to the society, but it needs to run in a utility service delivery. The functioning of it happens to need to be end to end. You need to do an integrated planning. As everyone has said it, you need to know the source and how much is the usage. If you don't know the groundwater, how much is the usage, you will never be able to do that. So the integrated planning needs to be done to this entire system when we are proposing this. Now, the next important thing, what important point was when we are looking at the structure, that you need an institutional mechanism of doing it. Every state may create, some of the states have a water regulatory authority. We should look at how the water regulatory authorities and actually empower them of implementing some of these. Because the water regulatory authorities will also determine the pricing of the water, how much this tariff needs to be done. They also will determine how the entire usage of water, where allocation, how much they need to do that. We need to plan this, we need to regulate, because without regulation it will never happen. Another important point in this entire regulation, and it's already been done by NGT. NGT in July 2020 came out very clearly on the groundwater permission. It said that groundwater, we need to have annual audits. Everyone needs to maintain the groundwater, how much you're using, that audit mechanism. Now, after this policy regulation, we need to take it forward and say, if any industry is using the groundwater more than what is required, what is the penalizing mechanism and who's going to do it? Those kind of details, maybe we might have to get into the details, but these are some of the things which are important to do that. We also talked about one important thing was, after the treatment, a lot of times the discharge norms are being discussed into the environment. But what about the quality gradation? Can we look at the quality gradation of the after the treated? into secondary, tertiary, and how it can be used, so that the usage can be defined based on that. So these were some of the thoughts which we had. But overall, I just wanted to highlight the point which has been mentioned, that never been important so much that we need to define these rules, regulation, institutional mechanism, the behavioral change at the community level to implement it, and get the standards of implementing it. All these three mechanisms are really important, and if we want to implement the water security in total. With this, I'll stop here.
Thank you so much, Nilachal. I think the enforcement of the NGT orders was my favorite. A lot needs to be done there because a lot of orders are coming out, have come out in the past, and they're very thoughtful. And I think if the bodies responsible, whether it's the PCBs or the ULBs, they take note of that seriously, then a lot of improvement can happen, very quickly as well. And I think a point which was common for all of us was the behavioral changes, something that all four of us have pointed out. And I think driving that needs consistent IEC and sensitization, effective communication, innovative communication that really reaches to the hearts of the people, and something that they can relate to. So before we conclude, I think we can check if we have any questions from the audience. Okay, we have one question in the second last row. So if we can pass on the mic to them. Yeah, this time we're not moving around the mics to reduce the contact. Yeah.
Hello. I am Chinaya. I am the CEO and co-founder of Nimbolution. We are Bangalore-based IoT startup. We are into smart water management. I think I am thankful to the panel for giving the very wide variety of suggestions how water conservation can be done. But I, as a founder, as a startup founder, I see that how the startup technology being used in addressing all these problems so far. Because I see a lot of talk, but hardly any technology being applied in addressing all the systems. Every time we come up with all these suggestions, but how the technology being deployed, all of you, so many suggestions are coming up.
I think so. Sir had already mentioned a bit about the new technologies being applied, so maybe one of them can throw light.
A lot of startups are coming up with a lot of solutions. Whether it is meter reading solutions are there, whether some of them are even telling us about the water, very moisture content in the soil, how that gets transmitted for making appropriate decisions for irrigation solutions are there. There are also solutions in the supply side and demand side. A lot of solutions are coming up. Simple solutions like aerators. Water aerators, the tap के नीचे अंदर लगा देते हैं, उसको 10 रुपए 50 रुपए. I have seen so many new water startups, not only in the digital field, or also in the small interventions like this are doing. There are people who have come out with locating cracks in the pipes. So, नीचे pipe डालते हैं ना, उसको there some startup had come and said that we have a new way we can locate the cracks in the pipe. Because NRM, non-revenue water, is a major source of revenue for an urban area. 40% of the as high as 40% in India, whereas Netherlands talks about 4 to 5%. So these things are being used generated by startups, and we are using it. You have to actually approach the water utilities, and smart city is the best forum, because smart city forum, all the smart cities are coming up. They are meant for providing water security, and they are actually encouraging a lot of startups. So we may not get that much demand from other cities, but at least the smart cities, you will definitely find takers.
Thank you, sir. That's the actually point I was about to come. See, we have been visiting a lot of water expos and meeting a lot of Indians across. The biggest point I noticed that the awareness about the water consumption or wastage is missing in common people. So this is a pain point in India. Even after 75 years of independence, still we don't have any technology. That's really unfortunate. But as a startup, we are already doing a very good solution. We have a stall here. I would request you to visit. But one more problem I want to tell. See, you all majorly emphasize on water treatment and wastage. But I believe the problem is we need to address the problem rather than trying to find a solution always. So the best thing is to reduce the water consumption itself. then the burden of all water treatment, sewage treatment itself is come down itself. So that is the need of in India, what we need. Because the central government says 130 liters per adult person is enough for the entire day. But is it the case? It is not the case. If you see in Delhi, the people, 3 family are using 2,500 liters per day with us, the people who are using our solution. So this is where the government and all the individual people need to come together and solve this problem. I request you to visit our stall here only, diagonally opposite. We'll show us. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much for that question. Any other question that we have? So I guess we have no more questions, and we've already so I'll just summarize what we have discussed. I think the key highlights were the impact of environmental changes on water security that need to be kept in mind. We need to become climate resilient in this sector as well. India is using more groundwater than any other country in the world. That was a great insight shared by Rajiv Ranjanji. Also the PPP model, wherein public, private and people, I think we have to follow that to really make initiatives successful. Technology for saving water, the same lines as the question was asked, Nilachal also highlighted that we have to promote technologies that work on saving water and behavioral changes. And G. Ashok Kumar ji, told us that in literal sense कि हमें पानी की तरह नहीं बहाने वाली जो statement है, we have to change that thing altogether. Maybe we didn't talk about the pricing or costing on water really directly today, but that idea also comes up. You did. So that idea comes out very frequently these days. I think with the last 2 or 3 sessions that I've done in the similar format, that has come up. So looks like something is going to happen in that direction, because when something comes with a tax, it automatically drives a behavioral change, because at the current cost and the availability, we might educate 100 people, but the remaining 900 still will end up wasting it. But overall, a very insightful discussion. So thank you all on behalf of the entire audience and Smart Cities India Expo and Green Dream Foundation for joining in. And before we leave, I think we have mementos to
Before we close the session, I would like moderator Mr. Ashish Sachdeva to give out mementos to esteemed speakers. First, we give out to Dr. Rajiv Ranjan Mishra, who is the DG, National Mission of Clean Ganga. Then Mr. G. Ashok Kumar, Mission Director, National Water Mission. And last but not the least, to Mr. Mishra, Nilachal Mishra, who is Partner and Head of Government Advisory, KPMG in India. So we have not finished yet. So, Mr. Sachdeva, a memento from the Exhibitions India group for you, sir, for moderating the session. Give him a round of applause, please.